Hey everyone, this is Jamie. So, as many of you have probably seen or heard, I kind of I've been trying not to be very vocal about the whole Marilyn Manson accusations, but as time kind of goes, I kind of feel that I'm getting pretty pissed off. Like, I'm really trying to stay unbiased, but the problem is that this situation is becoming a bit too painful for everyone involved, a bit too painful for everyone who's on either side, and it does kind of raise a lot of questions which I think should be answered instead of being ignored. And I'll preface with the fact that I did spend a lot of days kind of like just like trying to understand what was happening, like in the mindset of, okay, cancellation. I was digging, I was asking friends to like show me something which, I could have not seen and they saw, because obviously everyone has different resources and different, I don't know. Basically, everyone has different stances and etc. And when the thing came out, it was, for me personally, it was kind of not the best timing, because I've been dealing a lot with my own um, childhood abuse and trying to come over it, and specifically when it comes to such things as Me Too, feminism, and going back to nearly throwing back the analogy. I've actually seen people refer to it on Twitter. That men are like a bowl of M&Ms where you don't know which ones are poisons, therefore you should cancel all men, and etc. And the problem is that I want to call myself out because I'm getting really tired of this behavior, and I do understand that it's influencing me negatively, because at this point, sometimes when I see an article about Me Too or feminism, even I go like the poison M&M bowls. I feel like feminism, oh fuck no, and I just like close it, because, well, people don't really know what they're talking about these days, and if they do, they don't know what to refer to. They don't know feminism's history and etc. And people really forget a lot of things, or people don't want to read it, and also because we're in the age where history is very easily manipulated. Um, a lot of people who are younger, obviously, they can open something and they can assume that, for instance, feminism was always accepting of trans women, which is absolutely not the case. Or people can be a white feminist, I'm going by the white feminist terminology in this case, without realizing what actually means and what it is to actually just focus on oneself and their own sort of white feministic problems rather than something else. So yeah, and I don't like the fact that the more this goes, the more I feel like I want to look at the world and judge people by their qualities, not by, are they a feminist? Okay, they are. Fuck that. I do not want that. And it's reaching this point where I am getting to that level, because people really erase male victims of abuse, specifically when it comes from the hands of women. Um, Obviously, we all have things we have done in the past which we think that are bad, or other people think that are bad, or obviously, when we're going to more public personalities and back into the 90s where a lot of people abused drugs, and obviously, we need to remember that back in the day, what we consider unacceptable now wasn't unacceptable back then. And that applies to many things. Like, no one really made a big deal out of the fact that, besides a few memes that I saw online, that in the UK, for instance, they started giving medals back to LGBT veterans who fought in wars and then they got kicked out of the army or armed forces for being gay, mostly. So, yeah, and no one really talks about it. So, people are quick to apply certain things, but they're not quick to apply when it comes to other things. So, for instance, even when you read, once again, Marilyn Manson's autobiography, right? I read it about maybe half a year ago, so it's quite fresh in my memory. And also, the more time passes, the more I see that people kind of have this obsession with trying to find an unproblematic figure. And that's all great and all, but we need to understand that with certain power comes great responsibility. But as tacky as that quote is, and bad place it is, we really need to think about it. And if you want to, any position where you are in power in front of other people, whether it's due to a famous ladder, I mean, like the entertainment ladder, or anything, it can all be traced back to human nature. So, yes, I'm gonna throw psychology references at you to look smart, but in reality, I just really like these references and I use them in my life all the time. So, for instance, we have the Zimbardo Stanford experiment, which was literally prison guards went berserk. The in-lab prison guards went berserk on the in-lab prisoners. So, and that was in a very controlled environment. So, if you put someone in a much, much bigger position of power, and this is something that we humans have kind of artificially created when it comes to celebrity status and the fact that money speaks volumes. And if you are known, you can do anything, you can bribe, you can get everything, and you can twist the story to make it something that you want it to be. So at the end of the day, it's kind of this is simple human nature if you want to go for a psychology perspective, right? There's also the she is a performance artist, but it's still a good study regardless, and it shows human nature really well. Is Marina Abramovich's Phase Zero, where she stood in a museum and she had a table in front of her with a lot of objects, and as time went on, people realized that she would not react to any harm done to her. Therefore, her clothes were ripped. She had thorns in her body from a rose that was one of the objects, and she also was cut with a knife quite a few times, and you know, violence was inflicted upon her. So I really wanted to say that it is human nature to be cruel. It is human nature to survive. It is human nature to do many things. So, I don't even know how to wrap this argument into something which will not get me like downvoted into oblivion, to be honest. And that is already an issue of itself that I'm even thinking about this. So I wanted to say that I am very tired of the whole idea that women are always right. That is not the case. That is far from the case. I'm sorry, my dog is trying to bite me, and I'm really trying to get out of here. Luke's. Sorry. Yeah. So when it comes to different things, I'm sorry. So we do think about these things, numbers, being famous, and how to get our voice heard. Like at the bottom of my depression, when I was trying to speak up for myself, I really felt like I had no voice. Because growing up, I kind of did not have one. Or rather, even if I did have a voice, I wasn't heard. So I would come over to my parents, I would talk to them about the abuse, and nothing would be done. Like, nothing. And it kind of really scarred me up to the point that sometimes I think about it, and I wonder if I still even have a voice when it comes to such things. And that's why I kind of get really nervous about talking on YouTube. And I was really thinking about whether there's a point in, I don't know, doing a Discord or discussions, and I realized that I do not have. Just a second, love. I am very sorry. I promise my dog is cute. Just that when I get anxious, he just goes all over me. So yeah. So what I wanted to say was, we all focus on a bunch of different things like numbers, and we all get anxious. We all want to be heard, and right now we're in this period of history where all of a sudden everyone is sold, which is a good thing in principle, that we are all individuals and that we are all unique. But the problem is that this has seeped onto social media. This has seeped onto influencers. And this has seeped onto the fact that I deserve better than X population. So, and that kind of goes into feminism theory. Obviously, there are cases where it's the opposite, where you have misogynists, and I'm not saying everyone in Me Too is a big fat rat femme, for fuck's sake. So, I mean, obviously there were accusations which came through, which were true, and it was a movement which needed to happen. It's just that it happened to be that, in my opinion, it fell into the hands of the wrong people, or the wrong people spoke out. Well, I can't say the wrong people spoke out, but more like the people who spoke out were very hypocritical. I think that should be the focus. So, when I see such things, it's like, it kind of really fucks me over in the head. So it's like, I know that my abuser is walking free. She's fine. She's probably thriving. I don't know. I don't really have that much contact. I don't have contact, to be honest. Other than relatives, so which are mutual, but there's no contact at all because I have no interest. And it's like I know that if I were in a position of power like Evan Rachel Wood, or I'll just stick to her and Marilyn Manson for the sake of this argument, and I were to speak up about a female abuser from my childhood, I don't think people would listen to me. Or I'd have to bring up the fact that I'm trans. Maybe if I'm lucky, someone would listen to me because of my Eastern European background or my gay background. But this shouldn't be the reason why people should listen to me. People should listen to me because, in this case, I am merely a victim of abuse who happens to be male, who was abused by someone who was older and female. That's it. And those are the things we should look at. Abuser and victim. We shouldn't focus on the gender of this. And I think that's the thing that's happening here. Like, I heard even some accounts from, I can't remember if it was from Evan Rachel Wood herself or from Amber Heard commenting on the situation. But it was the whole idea that BDSM relationships are misogynistic in principle. And that is a very sort of radical Fem 101 take, like from all sides. So that kind of didn't struck a lot of confidence in me, obviously. And I don't want to be scared. You know, like I've done a bunch of posts. I've commented a bunch about feminism, and every day it's like I rant more, I expose more, and at the end of the day, what happens? Well, maybe someone read it, maybe someone changed their stance, maybe someone shed a tear and said, "Me too." Like, I hope the world changes, but it doesn't. It really doesn't, you know? And at the end of the day, it is my story, and I am the one who needs to take charge in eliminating all the links to the abuse that I had, because no one will put her in jail, accuse her of anything. Like, I understand that. Nothing's gonna happen. That's the sad reality. So, I see all these accusations from Evan Rachel Wood to Marilyn Manson, and there's a bunch of like controversy where she attacks Lindsay. Lindsay says it's not true, and I'm just so fed up at this point. I remember many years ago, back when I was very active on Tumblr, I did actually, I can't even remember who it was. I used to kind of be a sort of biggish fanfiction writer, and someone reached out to me and they said, I did not like how I lost my virginity to this guy. And they were looking back like years and years after. And it was like, it was consensual, but I wish I could tell him that he raped me because I did not like him, even though the whole act was consensual. And I remember I sat there thinking, what do I reply to that? Because I was on friendly terms with that person. Eventually, we stopped talking. And in general, my experience for Tumblr was really interesting because it was the time when I was coming out very slowly, and a lot of people who I was friends with, a lot of people who admired me just turned their back on me because I came out as male. And sometimes I just know what to say when I think about that. So, yeah. And right now I feel like people are tugging on random threads to find more things to cancel Marilyn Manson over. Uh, my stance is that I have no idea what happened. I feel like if there is truth, the fact that Evan Rachel Wood is posting nearly like what countless screenshots of different accusations, which she then deletes manually throughout the day, is not helping her case. And that is just making me feel much, much more iffy about the whole situation. Now, when it comes to Marilyn, do I think he is an abuser? I don't know. I mean, there are interviews where he speaks about it. There is an interview where he does say that he was self-mutilating while calling Evan Rachel Wood and telling her that he wants her to come back. So that was on record. There is also an interview from the top of my head where I can't remember it. I think he threatens um, like the main writer or owner of Spin magazine or some other big shot magazine with a gun. And he did talk about that incident as well. So he has always been rather candid, in my opinion, about his mistakes or things, even which were fucked up, which he wanted to talk about. And yeah, and I do think that just because I also think a lot of the reasons why people are really quick to shut him down is because he has been a controversial figure. He has been in numerous controversies. He was literally probably the main picture on a dartboard of a priest anonymous meeting for all I care, you know? So, I'm not saying that someone should be excused on the sole merits of their art. We should look at them as a person, we should look at their art as well. And when people say, look at his art, it's very provocative, it's very wrong, it's very raw, and it's like, well, there's feminists out there saying that we need to, like, abort male fetuses. And that goes, like, into newspapers. So, I mean, if you want to censor stuff like that, then we can talk about censoring Marilyn Manson, if you ask me. And I am very grateful that I did read the book when I needed it. I am grateful that I discovered his music when I needed it. And he opens my eyes in a lot of things. I myself well, I do enjoy politics, but I do not relate to any Republican or Democrat sort of ideology. So, for anyone who wants to come at me with your best Lenin jokes or whatever. Yeah. I also find it funny that people take a Stalin quote which Marilyn uses in the song and they quote it as if it's his quote. So that's quite funny to me because it's a very famous quote as well. So I wanted to say that honestly, I think he will get cancelled because that's the state of the world. Will that change my view on him? No. Because in my eyes, he has been honest about his wrongdoings. The people who matter have spoken in his defense. And at this point, it just feels like really bad rumors, which happen to catch fire. Now, I'm not saying that this is my final stance, and obviously, like everyone else, I will wait to see what happens, what unfolds. But I I still see him as an icon for the time being, and anyone who is using such arguments as we need to listen to women are being silenced in the context of a Western world, meaning UK, US, uh, well, the majority of Europe, specifically like west of Poland. Like, if someone were like, we need to talk about women's right in Poland about abortion, I'd be like, please. I like with the fact that I'm a post-Soviet child, I do not understand why abortion is illegal. And wait, yeah, like why can't anyone abort? Like that to me is like beyond me. So anyway, um, there are bigger issues in my eyes. So if you actually want to talk about female issues, there's plenty of female issues to go around. And someone just pointing at someone while deciding which Instagram stories are more noteworthy shouldn't be getting the attention, in my opinion. Well, you can also say that it's a bit biased from my side because I'm not getting my revenge or whatever. Even though I do feel better these days. What I wanted to say was if you think that only women can abuse or be the victims, or that, men are the abusers always, and men are rapists, men are misogynists, go fuck yourself. I did this video because I was tired. I did this video because I'm just sick of fighting everyone. And I did this video because I know that I'll still be angry over it tomorrow. I'll still be angry over it until it blows over. If it blows over in a feminist positive way or whatever. So yeah. Right now, for the record, I am standing with Marilyn Manson, and I do think his art is very contributional. Trent Reznor is a fucking sick fuck for pretend that he's an angel. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out. And yeah, I would really encourage, since it's COVID, to find out different places where you can volunteer and spend your energy actually helping people instead of browsing Instagram, if you have the opportunity to do so, of course. Because you should value the people around you and the fact that you need to wear a mask, you need to protect others from contacting COVID, from being a transmitter yourself. Please get the vaccine once you can, and once it is your legal turn, instead of, I don't know, bribing or the Florida zip code thing. Anyway, so we are in a world with a lot of problems. Vanishing Instagram isn't one of it, in my opinion, right now. I'm repeating myself, and I will continue repeating myself. So, I want to say thank you if you watched this whole video. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. That makes me happy. If you want to leave a like, leave a like. If you want to comment on me being a bad person, go ahead. I don't care. If you want to comment something nice, I appreciate it. It would be very, very lovely from you. And thank you very much.